You step out of the airlock. Your boot touches the surface. Gray dust kicks up in slow motion, hanging in the vacuum for seconds before settling back down.
No air, no sound, no protection except the suit keeping you alive. You've got 24 hours, one full day on the moon, and by the end of it, you're going to understand exactly why humans haven't been back in over 50 years. Because the moon isn't just another place to visit, it's actively trying to kill you. Every single second you're there, you're one equipment failure away from death. One torn suit, one cracked helmet, one miscalculation. The astronauts who walked on the moon during Apollo weren't there for 24 hours. They couldn't be. The longest any human has spent on the lunar surface is about 22 hours total, spread across 3 days. Gene Cernan and Harrison Schmitt on Apollo 17. They did 3 moonwalks, slept in the lunar module, and got out as fast as they could. There's a reason for that. But let's say technology has improved. Let's say you've got a habitat, life support, food, water, everything you need to survive a full 24-hour period from sunrise to sunset. Except the moon doesn't really have a normal day-night cycle like Earth. One lunar day lasts about 29.5 Earth days. That means 2 weeks of continuous sunlight, then 2 weeks of darkness. So your 24 hours is just a tiny slice of the moon's day. But it's enough time for things to go very, very wrong. This is what would actually happen if you spent 24 hours on the moon. Not the romanticized version, not the sci-fi fantasy, the real, brutal truth about surviving on the most hostile environment humans have ever visited. Hour 0 to 1, arrival and first steps. The landing is rougher than you expected. Lunar soil isn't like beach sand, it's regolith. Billions of years of meteorite impacts have shattered the surface into a fine, abrasive powder. Your lander kicks up clouds of it as you descend. When you finally touch down, you wait. Let the dust settle. Check all your systems. Your suit pressure is holding steady at 4.3 psi. Your oxygen tank is full, 8 hours of breathable air. Your cooling system is running, because even though space is cold, your body heat has nowhere to go in a vacuum except through active cooling. You cycle through the airlock, the hatch opens, and you take your first step. The gravity hits you immediately, or rather, the lack of it. You weigh about 1/6 of what you do on Earth. Your brain knows how to walk, but your muscles are calibrated for Earth gravity. Every step launches you higher than you intend. Every movement feels floaty, imprecise. You look up. The sky is black, completely black. No blue, no atmosphere to scatter light. Just stars and the blinding white sun. And there, hanging above the horizon, is Earth. A blue marble against the void. It doesn't move. The moon is tidally locked, so from where you're standing, Earth stays in roughly the same position forever. The first thing that strikes you is the silence. Total silence. There's no air to carry sound. When you drop something, it falls without a whisper. When you kick up dust, it arcs through the vacuum noiselessly. Your radio crackles, mission control checking in. But otherwise, nothing. You spend the first hour setting up your habitat, a small inflatable module that will serve as your home for the next 23 hours. You anchor it to the surface with stakes driven into the regolith. You connect life support. Double check the seals, because if this habitat fails, you're dead. Hour 1 to 3, the dust problem. By hour 2, you notice the dust. It's everywhere, clinging to your suit, embedded in every crevice, and it's not coming off. Lunar dust isn't like Earth dust. It's sharp, jagged, and incredibly sticky. Billions of years without wind or water erosion means each particle is a tiny shard of glass, and without moisture in the air, it picks up a static charge from solar radiation. The Apollo astronauts described it as one of their biggest problems. It got into everything: their equipment, their spacesuits, their lungs. Even after just a few hours outside, their suits were filthy. The dust abraded the fabric, clogged the joints, scratched their visors. Harrison Schmitt had an allergic reaction to it. Moon hay fever, he called it. His sinuses swelled up. He had trouble breathing, and there was nothing he could do except wait for his body to adapt. You try to brush it off, doesn't work. You try to vacuum it off at the airlock. Helps a little, but not much. The stuff is persistent. This is why NASA engineers are still trying to figure out the dust problem decades later. Any permanent moon base will need solutions for keeping lunar dust out of habitats, special airlocks, electrostatic cleaning systems, Maybe even a full air shower design where you shed the outer layer of your suit before entering the living space. Because breathing this stuff? Not an option. It's toxic. The sharp particles can damage lung tissue. Some studies suggest it might be carcinogenic. The Apollo astronauts weren't exposed long enough for it to matter, but if you're spending extended time on the moon, dust management becomes a survival priority. Hour 3 to 6, temperature extremes. The sun is up, and the temperature is climbing. In direct sunlight, the lunar surface reaches about 260 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 127 degrees Celsius. Hot enough to boil water, hot enough to cook you alive if your suit's cooling system fails. But step into shadow, and the temperature plummets to minus 280 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 173 Celsius, colder than liquid nitrogen. There's no atmosphere to moderate temperature, no air to distribute heat. Just brutal extremes separated by razor-sharp shadows. Your spacesuit handles this with active thermal control. Tubes of water run through the suit, absorbing your body heat and radiating it away through external panels. It's a delicate balance. Too much cooling and you freeze. Too little and you overheat. You conduct some experiments outside, collecting samples, setting up instruments. Every movement is calculated. You can't just work like you would on Earth. Everything takes longer in the suit. The gloves are bulky, making fine motor control nearly impossible. The limited oxygen means you can't stay out for more than a few hours at a time. And the sun, God, the sun. Without an atmosphere to filter the radiation, you're getting blasted with ultraviolet light, X-rays, and solar particles. Your suit protects you, but just barely. The Apollo astronauts reported seeing flashes of light even with their eyes closed, cosmic rays passing through their eyeballs and triggering the optic nerve. You see them too, little sparkles in your peripheral vision, radiation cooking your retinas in real time. Hour 6 to 9, isolation sets in, back in the habitat, suit off, finally able to scratch your nose. The habitat is cramped, about the size of a small RV. You've got a bunk, some storage, a tiny work area, and the life support systems humming constantly in the background. The air smells recycled, metallic. You can taste it. You eat. Freeze-dried food rehydrated with recycled water. It's not good, but it's calories. You need the energy because your body is working overtime in low gravity. Your muscles are confused. Your inner ear is sending weird signals to your brain. Some astronauts get space sickness, nausea, disorientation, headaches. You feel it starting. That queasiness in your gut. You radio Earth. There's a delay, about 1.3 seconds for the signal to travel there and back. Conversations feel stilted, awkward. You say something. Wait. Hear the response. Wait. Reply. It's lonely. More lonely than you expected. You can see Earth through the habitat window, but you can't touch it. Can't smell fresh air. Can't feel wind or rain or anything familiar. The moon is dead. Completely dead. No life has ever existed here. No bacteria, no plants, no insects, nothing. You are the only living thing on an entire world, and the isolation presses down on you like the vacuum outside. The Apollo astronauts talked about this, the profound sense of being somewhere humans weren't meant to be. Some found it spiritual, others found it terrifying. You're starting to understand the terrifying part. Hour 9 to 12, equipment failures. The carbon dioxide scrubber alarm goes off. Not a full failure, just a warning. The lithium hydroxide canister that removes CO2 from the air is getting saturated. You've got backups, but this is how people die in space. Not from dramatic explosions or meteor strikes, from slow, creeping equipment failures that cascade into disasters. You replace the canister, check all the other systems. Life support is nominal. Power is good. Solar panels are soaking up that intense, unfiltered sunlight. Water recycling is working. For now, but you can't shake the anxiety. Every weird noise makes you jump. Every fluctuation in temperature or pressure sends you scrambling to the monitors. This is what 24 hours on the moon really means. Constant vigilance, constant awareness that you're in an environment that doesn't care if you live or die. There's no calling for help, no ambulance, no rescue team that can reach you in minutes. If something goes catastrophically wrong, you're alone. The Apollo 13 astronauts had a catastrophic failure, and they were lucky. They had the lunar module as a lifeboat. They had mission control working around the clock. They had the momentum to get back to Earth. You're stuck here for the next 12 hours minimum, until the return window opens. until your ride home can launch. So you double-check everything, triple-check, run diagnostics, test backups, because paranoia isn't a bug on the moon, it's a survival mechanism. Hour 12 to 15, moonquakes. You feel it before you hear it. A subtle vibration through the floor, then your equipment starts rattling. Moonquake. The moon isn't geologically dead. It's cooling, contracting, and that process creates seismic activity. The Apollo missions left seismometers on the surface, and they recorded thousands of moonquakes. Most are tiny, some are significant, magnitude 5 or higher on the Richter scale. This one is small, maybe a 2 or 3, but it's enough to remind you that the ground beneath you isn't stable. The moon's crust is fractured, riddled with ancient fault lines from billions of years of impacts and thermal stress. The shaking stops after about 20 seconds. You check for damage. Everything looks okay. The habitat held, but your heart is pounding. Because here's the thing about moonquakes. They last longer than earthquakes, sometimes 10 minutes or more. The moon's interior is cold and rigid, so seismic waves don't dissipate quickly. They just keep bouncing around. And you have no way of predicting them. No warning system, just random shaking that could happen at any time. You try to calm down, breathe, but the adrenaline won't fade. Your body knows you're in danger, even if your brain is trying to rationalize it away. Hour 15 to 18, radiation exposure. Your dosimeter alarm chirps. You've accumulated 200 microsieverts of radiation in the past 15 hours. That doesn't sound like much, and honestly, it's not. It's about the same as getting 2 chest x-rays, but you're only halfway through your stay, and if a solar storm hits while you're here, that number could spike dramatically. The moon has no magnetic field, no atmosphere, nothing to protect you from cosmic rays and solar radiation. You're exposed to about 200 times more radiation than you'd get on Earth. The Apollo astronauts were lucky. No major solar events during their missions, but if one had occurred while they were on the surface, they would have received a lethal dose within hours. You check the solar weather forecast. Quiet. No coronal mass ejections, no solar flares. You're safe for now. But the radiation is accumulating in your body, damaging DNA, increasing your cancer risk. There's no avoiding it. Every minute on the moon, you're getting cooked by radiation. This is why long-term lunar habitats will need to be underground, or covered with meters of regolith for shielding, because you can't live on the surface, not long-term. The radiation will kill you eventually. Hour 18 to 21, psychological strain. You can't sleep, you try. You lie in the bunk and close your eyes, but your brain won't shut off. You keep thinking about all the ways this could go wrong. What if the habitat springs a leak? What if your spacesuit malfunctions during the next EVA? What if the return vehicle fails to launch? The darkness doesn't help. You've turned off most of the lights to conserve power, and the habitat is lit only by the glow of monitoring equipment and the Earthlight filtering through the window. Earthlight. That's a thing on the moon. Earth reflects sunlight back at the lunar surface, providing a dim illumination during the moon's night. It's eerie, blue and cold. You get up, make some coffee. Well, instant coffee substitute. It tastes like burnt cardboard, but the caffeine helps. You think about the astronauts who came before. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, alone on the moon, while Michael Collins orbited overhead. How did they stay calm? How did they push down the fear? Maybe they didn't. Maybe they felt exactly what you're feeling right now. But they had a mission, a purpose, a reason to be here beyond just survival. You're just trying to make it to hour 24. Hour 21 to 24, the final hours. The sun is still up, still blasting the surface with radiation and heat, but you're almost done. You conduct one final EVA, collect the last samples, take some photos, stand on the surface and just look around. The moon is beautiful in a desolate way. The landscape is gray, cratered, ancient. You're standing on rock that's 4 billion years old. Nothing has changed here in eons. No wind, no water, no life to alter the surface. You think about how small you are, how fragile. This suit, this thin layer of fabric and metal, is all that separates you from instant death. You think about Earth, home, where there's air and water and life, where you can walk outside without worrying about radiation or temperature or vacuum. And you realize something: humans don't belong on the moon. Not really. We can visit, we can survive. but we'll never be comfortable here. This place is too hostile, too alien. You head back to the habitat. Begin shutdown procedures, pack up the samples, prepare for departure. 24 hours on the moon, you made it. But as you climb into your return vehicle and fire the engines, as the lunar surface drops away beneath you, you feel something you didn't expect. Relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. You survived. The aftermath. Back on Earth, you'll notice the effects for weeks. Your body has to readjust to gravity. Your muscles ache. Your bones feel heavy. You'll cough up lunar dust for days. The stuff is so fine, so persistent, that it embeds itself deep in your lungs. You'll have nightmares. Not every night, but often enough. Dreams where your suit tears, where the habitat decompresses, where you're stuck on the moon forever. And you'll never look at the moon the same way again. Everyone sees it as romantic, beautiful, that pale disk in the night sky. But you've been there. You know what it really is. A dead world, a hostile rock, a place where humans can visit but never truly belong. 24 hours on the moon taught you something the astronauts already knew. Space exploration isn't about adventure. It's about survival. It's about engineering and planning and redundancy and luck. It's about staring into the void and understanding just how thin the line is between life and death. The moon is 238,855 miles away. Humanity has sent 12 people to walk on its surface, and every single one of them was happy to leave, because the moon doesn't want you there. It never did. NASA is planning to return humans to the moon by the late 2020s. The Artemis program aims to establish a permanent presence, build habitats, conduct long-term research, and maybe they'll succeed. Maybe technology will advance enough to make lunar living survivable, maybe even comfortable. But those first astronauts, the ones who spend days or weeks on the surface, they're going to understand exactly what you just experienced. 24 hours on the moon isn't an adventure, it's a fight for survival, and the moon always has the advantage.